Good evening and welcome to TVB News. As cruise ships return to the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal, transport issues again surfaced for tourists looking to experience Hong Kong's attractions. The lack of public transport remains a serious problem for visitors, with recently added tour buses travelling between the terminal and nearby malls failing to alleviate the congestion for tourists. Timothy Lee has our top story.
Able to carry up to 2,000 people, the resort's World One cruise ship returned to its home port in Hong Kong this morning. Before passengers even depart from the vessel, fleets of taxis were already waiting near the pier. But those leaving the ship soon realized there were fewer rides than expected, and long queues quickly emerged. Cruise ship passengers today were primarily made up of locals, compared to yesterday's large number of foreign visitors. Some passengers shared their thoughts on the public transport issue at the terminal. This passenger, who works as a taxi driver, said he wouldn't pick up customers here himself, saying that most people would choose to board the MTR instead. This man noted the lack of buses in the area, adding that he had to wait 20 minutes for any form of public transport the last time he came to the terminal. Visitors have the option of 5 bus routes traveling between the terminal and locations such as Kowloon Tong, Kowloon City, and Kai Tak Station. But most buses only arrive once every half an hour. Some nearby malls arranged for 2 buses traveling between the terminal and the shopping centers, but seats were almost immediately filled once people were allowed to board. This visitor from Taiwan, who is returning home tonight, lamented that owing to the poor public transport infrastructure at the terminal, he only has time to visit one landmark in the city. He hopes that local authorities will make suitable arrangements for additional modes of transport in the future. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Starting 5 a.m. today, local drivers can use the free-flow toll system HKE toll at the Western Harbour Tunnel. Up until 4:30 p.m., more than 26,000 vehicles had passed through the tunnel, and the new system went without a hitch, with some 90% of the vehicles. Memo Sengai with more.
At 5 a.m. Sunday morning, the HKE toll system was officially launched at the Western Harbour Tunnel. Under the new system, Kowloon-bound traffic lanes near the tunnel entrance on Hong Kong Island have been reduced to 4. On the Kowloon side, 5 lanes are left for vehicles going to Hong Kong Island just before they enter the tunnel. Traffic was largely smooth this morning. This taxi driver said the free-flow toll system did relieve the congestion at the Western Harbour Tunnel, as motorists can now drive through the toll booths directly without having to stop and pay. The Hong Kong e-toll will next be extended to the Eastern Harbour Tunnel by the end of August. Speaking on a TVB program, Transport Commissioner Rosanna Law said the government will launch Phase 2 of the toll adjustment, time-varying tolls at the 3 road harbour crossings as soon as possible.
We will have to give some time for the 633 traffic pattern to stabilize. And also, after the September school year reopening, we will have to further examine the transport situation, the traffic situation, and whether or not we could introduce further improvements to our road junctions and signal arrangements, so that come time-varying toll, we will have a smooth traffic flow. So our aim remains to introduce time-varying toll within 2023.
While the new tolling arrangement has achieved some traffic diversion effect, the government believes such an impact will not be notable until the introduction of the time-varying tolls.
The time-varying toll package would involve further raising the morning and evening peak toll of Eastern Harbour Crossing and Cross Harbour Tunnel to $40. That is arising from the result of our travel characteristic studies done last year. The range that motorists would consider changing their driving pattern, either that motorists would consider not driving and start using public transport, or they would consider diversion. They would consider using other routes.
To ensure drivers can adapt to the arrangements of the time-varying tolls, law at the authorities will have some measures in place, including putting up display panels at the tunnels to inform people the toll for each type of vehicle at each time slot. News 9, TVB News.
Restoration and cleaning efforts have begun in the flood-hit regions of North and Northeast China. Torrential rainstorms and floods have wreaked havoc over the past week. Meanwhile, authorities have earmarked an additional 350 million yuan to aid the recovery. Water levels at many rivers in the area have surged drastically due to the relentless rainfall. Authorities announced today that 50 rivers currently exceed flood limits. In Qinghai, Heilongjiang and Jilin province, 4 rivers are experiencing record-breaking levels. Rescue operations are underway in Heilongjiang as heavy downpours have inundated farmlands and destroyed roads, leaving many residents trapped. Heavy rainfall has also led to severe waterlogging and collapsed bridges in several parts of the city. In neighboring Jilin province, Shulan City has witnessed the most extreme precipitation since the flood season began. In Kaiyuan town, roads into local villages were damaged and villagers trapped. The local government deployed helicopters to deliver supplies to the cut-off villages and worked to repair the damaged roads. In Tianjin, over 80,000 people in 6 hard-hit districts have been relocated to safety. 2 batches of relief supplies from the Ministry of Emergency Management and the National Food and Strategic Reserves Administration have arrived in the city. More than 2.2 million people have been affected in Hebei province. Roads and streets in the villages of Zhuozhou City turned into rivers after days of extreme rain. Rescuers deployed multiple pump trucks to drain the water. As water levels subside, debris and random objects piled up on the streets, making it difficult for flood control teams to work. To prevent the spread of disease, some districts in Hebei have already started large-scale disinfections. Japan marked the 78th anniversary of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. Its mayor called for the abolition of nuclear weapons. A peace bell tolled at 8:15 a.m., the time the bomb was dropped, killing 140,000 people. A second bomb was dropped 3 days later on Nagasaki, and 70,000 more people died. Japan surrendered on August 15th, ending World War II. Around 50,000 people participated in today's outdoor ceremony, including some aging survivors of the atomic bombing. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said the notion of a world without nuclear weapons was getting harder due in part to Russian nuclear threats. Welcome back to TVB News. The military junta running Niger are seeking assistance from the Russian Wagner Group as a deadline nears to release the ousted president from house arrest. The West African country faces possible military intervention from regional bloc ECOWAS if the democratically elected Mohamed Bazoum is not freed. Matthew Bray with more.
The Niger capital, Niamey, is a tense city with people on the streets largely in support of the military. Most of those in this video back the coup that took place, wanting foreign forces out of their country, unless, of course, they happen to be Russian. A coup leader, General Salifou Modi, visited Mali, where he made contact with a Wagner representative, according to the Associated Press. Niger's new leaders face a Sunday deadline to release the president, Mohamed Bazoum, or prepare for possible intervention by ECOWAS member states. The bloc seeks dialogue, but a mediation team wasn't allowed to enter the capital Thursday or meet coup leader General Abdourahmane Chiani. Still, Bazoum's prime minister, speaking in Paris, said that a last-minute climb-down was still possible, with all institutions dissolved, restored, and Bazoum released. France said Saturday it was willing to support efforts to undo the coup without saying explicitly it would back ECOWAS militarily. French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna called it one coup too many. There was a small protest outside Niger's Paris embassy calling for the reinstatement of the democratic government. Intervention is likely to stoke more trouble in the Sahel, a region beset by Islamic insurgencies. Algeria and Chad have both said they are against military action. Mali and Burkina Faso, both countries where the military has seized power, said they would support Niger. Matthew Bray, TVB News.
Locally, a woman fell from an 8-meter-high cliff in Tolongchau this afternoon. The woman and her friends went hiking on the island. At around noon, they stopped at a cliff to take photos just before the accident happened. The woman injured her face, hands and feet. She was conscious and sent to the Eastern Hospital for treatment. Concrete chunks fell off buildings in Mongkok and Sai Ying Pun. No injuries were reported. Some lawmakers believe authorities must speed up their repair work on 1,000 buildings in undesirable conditions. The Fire Services Department received reports at around 11 a.m. about concrete chunks hitting Tung Choi Street in Mongkok. The rebar of a building there was exposed and various cracks on the structure could be seen. Firefighters removed spalling concrete at the site. Meanwhile, reports were made at around 2 p.m. about falling concrete blocks on Eastern Street in Sai Ying Pun. Lawmaker Edward Leung noted that while the government has identified 1,000 buildings in a critical condition, authorities should shorten the repair plan procedure to just 1 month. He added the government should notify property owners that repair work by the government will cost an additional 20% in administration fees. That's the news. Thanks for watching.